Welcome to the Now and Beyond podcast, hosted by Ryan Canfield, founder and president of Victus Wealth Management. Whether you're seeking financial freedom, investment insights, or simply looking to optimize your lifestyle, tune in for conversations that empower you to achieve a balance between enjoying the present and ensuring a resilient financial future. Welcome to a podcast where the art of living well today intersects with the science of planning for a brighter tomorrow.
Welcome to the second episode of the Now and Beyond podcast. Today, we're diving into a sneaky beast known as lifestyle inflation. You know, that tendency to spend more money as you start earning more. I like to call it the financial Bermuda Triangle, where pay raises mysteriously disappear. But don't worry, I've got some tips to help keep your wallet fat and happy. First, let's talk about what exactly lifestyle inflation is. So imagine you just landed a fantastic new job, your dream job, with a hefty salary bump. You go home, you're feeling on top of the world, and suddenly those luxury items you once thought were out of reach seem totally doable. New car? Why not? Fancy dinners every weekend? Absolutely. But wait a second. Before you know it, your new paycheck is just gone, and you're not any richer than you were before this new job. That is called lifestyle inflation. And I'm sure everyone listening has experienced this to some degree. So let me tell you a story about a client of mine. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is a brilliant software engineer who recently just got promoted. Her new salary, about $150,000 a year. This is a substantial increase from what she was earning before. She was ecstatic and ready to enjoy the fruits of her hard work. But soon, Sarah's spending habits started to spiral. She upgraded to a new downtown apartment. She started buying designer clothes, and she even went out and bought a new luxury car lease. So despite her impressive new salary, she found herself still living paycheck to paycheck, and she was stressing about her finances. She was losing sleep. She started not eating. It was causing health issues. So finally, Sarah reached out to me, and the first thing she said to me is, where is all of my money going? So over the course of a couple meetings, we took a deep dive into Sarah's spending and realized lifestyle inflation had taken a big bite out of her financial security. So how did we fix it? Here are the steps we took, and here are some steps that you actually can take as well. So the first thing we did was we set clear financial goals. Sarah started by defining what she really wanted to achieve, like saving for a down payment on a new home. That way she could stop paying rent on her expensive apartment that she had. And she wanted to also build up her emergency fund. So setting clear financial goals gives you a roadmap for your money, helping you stay focused on what truly matters. Second thing we did was we created a budget. This budget allowed for some fun, but also prioritized her goals. We made the budget realistic, including room for savings and investments. Creating a budget is like giving every dollar a job. It ensures that your spending aligns with your values and your long-term plans. The third thing we did was we automated her savings. Sarah set up automatic transfers to her savings and investment accounts right after every payday. This way, she paid herself first before any discretionary spending. Automating your savings ensures consistency and makes it less likely that you'll spend money that should have been saved. So instead of impulsively upgrading her lifestyle, Sarah learned to spend mindfully. She now asks herself if a purchase genuinely adds value to her life or if it's just an impulsive splurge. This mindfulness helps in making deliberate choices that align with long-term happiness rather than her short-term gratification. So it wasn't about depriving herself, but making smarter choices. For instance, she still enjoys nice dinners, but she doesn't make it a habit every single weekend. And guess what? She's definitely happier knowing she's building a secure financial future. So over the next year, Sarah's savings account, it flourished. She reached her emergency fund goal and is well on her way to buying her dream home. Plus, she no longer stresses over finances. She's in control and she feels empowered. So remember, it's not about how much money you make, but it's how much you keep. Avoid the pitfalls of lifestyle inflation by setting goals, budgeting, automating savings, and spending mindfully. Your future self will thank you. So now let's dive deeper into each of these steps with some additional insights and practical tips that you can use today. The first part is setting clear financial goals. Setting clear financial goals is crucial because it provides direction for your money. Without goals, it's easy to spend on whims and end up with little to show for it. When setting goals, I always recommend using the SMART goal framework. This means that you're setting goals that are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. For instance, instead of saying, I want to save money, you could say, I want to save $20,000 for a down payment on a house in 3 years. This gives you a clear target to work towards. You know how much, the 20,000, and you have a time of 3 years. So you want to think about what you want to achieve in the short term, medium term, and long term. Short term goals might include building an emergency fund or paying off a credit card. Medium term goals could be saving for a vacation or a car. Some examples of long term goals often involve like retirement planning or purchasing a home. I highly recommend writing these goals down and revisiting them regularly to stay on track. There's no sense in setting these goals if you never go back to revisit them. And there's also no sense in writing down these goals if you're not going to go back to track to see if you're actually working towards them. And here's the thing, you also don't have to do this alone. Talk to your spouse, talk to friends, create vision boards. I'm a big believer in vision boards, being able to see on a daily basis what you're working towards. It's a consistent reminder of what you're trying to achieve. The second thing that I wanted to touch on was creating a budget using this concept called reverse budget. This approach is a little bit different than traditional budgeting. So this is known as pay yourself first budgeting. It flips the traditional budgeting method on its head and can be a game changer for ensuring your financial priorities are met. Traditional budgeting, it usually starts with listing your income and then subtracting all of your expenses to see what's left for savings. Reverse budgeting, however, prioritizes your financial goals right at the start. Here's how it works. So first, identify your financial goals. Again, this could be building an emergency fund, saving for a down payment on a house, contributing to your retirement accounts, or paying off your student loans or other debt. Then you want to determine the amount you need to save each month to reach these goals within your desired time frame. Once you have your goal amounts, you want to automate these savings. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account right into your savings account, your retirement accounts, or debt repayment as soon as your paycheck hits your account. This way, you pay yourself first, ensuring that your financial priorities are met before any other spending occurs. Next, with the remaining money, you want to cover your essential expenses. These include rent, your mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, and any other mandatory costs that you may have. Finally, whatever is left after saving and covering your essentials is what you can use for your discretionary spending. Things like dining out, entertainment, other hobbies. This method helps you avoid lifestyle inflation because it forces you to live within whatever is left after prioritizing savings and essentials. So for instance, let's say your monthly income is $5,000 and you've set a goal to save $1,000 for retirement and $500 for an emergency fund. Those amounts are transferred out of your checking account first and into their appropriate accounts. Then you go and you cover your rent, your utilities, and your other necessary expenses with the remaining $3,500. If your essential expenses total $2,500, you're left with $1,000 for discretionary spending. Reverse budgeting ensures that your savings and financial goals are never an afterthought. It helps you build a robust financial future while still allowing you room to enjoy today. The third thing I really want to talk about is automating your savings. When you do this is a powerful way to ensure you save consistently. So many times I have clients that will contact me and they need to shut off their savings that's going into their retirement or their investment account, for a couple months, especially around the holidays. It's because they haven't taken the time to plan for what they're going to spend during the holiday season. So they end up spending more money, they accumulate credit card debt, and they have to stop retirement savings or their investment savings to help pay this debt off. So when you automate your savings, you're transferring money right out of your checking account. It's going into your savings, your investment, your retirement account. This way, you're almost treating your savings like a bill that has to be paid. Again, why would you want to pay somebody else first? Why wouldn't you want to pay yourself first? By automating this process, you make it a lot easier to save and less tempting to spend. Your employer offers a 401k plan. Make sure you're contributing enough money to get any employer match. It's essentially free money. Additionally, consider setting up automatic contributions to an IRA or high yield savings account. And some 401k plans also have a feature where every single year you can set it up to automatically increase your contribution percentage by a certain percent, where you don't have to do any additional paperwork. You don't have to contact HR or the plan provider. It just automatically increases every single year. I have found that a lot of the clients like this because they forget that they set it up. And then come January 1st, when they get their new paycheck, they don't even realize that there's a difference. The fourth thing I want to really dive into is mindful spending. So mindful spending is about making conscious decisions with your money. So before making any purchase, ask yourself if it aligns with your values and your goals. Will it bring you long-term happiness, or is it a fleeting desire? This doesn't mean you can't enjoy life now, but it's all about finding balance. I know for me personally, I'm a big tech guy. Anytime the new iPhone, new iPad, new Mac comes out, I'm always looking at it and I'm always asking myself, do I really need this? How is it going to improve my life? Sometimes I cave and I go and I purchase it, and then I immediately have, regret. Why did I spend the money on this tool when I had something that was working perfectly fine? One technique that I tell clients is the 30-day rule for big purchases. If you see something you want that's not a necessity, wait 30 days. What ends up happening often is the urge to buy will pass and you will be glad you didn't spend the money. For smaller everyday expenses, try tracking your spending for a month to see where your money is going. You might be surprised at the patterns you find in areas where you can cut back without sacrificing your quality of life. One of the biggest areas that I see clients spending money in is eating out, and that shouldn't come as any surprise. I have clients that have $500, $600, $700 a month grocery bills, and then I see that they're spending $1,000 a month eating out. And we start diving into these conversations around, why are you spending $1,000 eating out and you're spending $700 or $800 a month on groceries? What ends up happening to that food that you bought, on your grocery bill? A lot of the times my clients are telling me that they end up throwing that food away or it goes bad. That's a problem. So, and a lot of people don't realize how much money they're actually spending on eating out. With the convenient apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash, they make it really, really simple for you to press a couple buttons and the food magically appears on your porch. But what a lot of people don't realize is if you really look at those apps and the cost of them, a lot of restaurants are, number one, they're charging more money for the food. Number two, you have to tip on top of it. Number three, they're charging a service fee on top of it. So sometimes you could be paying anywhere from 25 to 50 to 75% more than if you would have just went to the restaurant or you would have went to go pick it up yourself. I know for me personally, there's a pizza shop right down the road. It's about 3 minutes up the road from me. We were constantly ordering pizza from them and having it delivered to our house. And one day I decided to sit down and actually look at how much we were being charged by this pizza shop. I quickly realized that I could actually save around $15 for every time we ordered if I would just go and pick it up. So now I never have that delivered. The same thing with my groceries. I was using a grocery delivering service that every Saturday morning they would deliver groceries right to my house at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was fantastic. I'd just wake up, answer my front door, and my groceries were here. So one day my wife was adding groceries to the grocery list, and we quickly realized that they were charging more money for strawberries if we had it set up as delivery than if we had it set up for me to go pick it up. So we dove in a little bit deeper and realized that this wasn't just the case for the strawberries. It was actually every single item that we were ordering. They upcharged everything on top of the service fee, on top of the annual fee that we had to pay to be part of the delivery service. Well, you could probably guess what ended up happening. Saturday mornings at 7 a.m., I'm driving to the grocery store to go pick up the groceries. Yes, it was convenient to have the groceries delivered to me, but my wife and I decided it wasn't worth that additional expense. Also considering the grocery store is a minute down from my house. So being mindful and really looking at where your money is going can really help you long term. The savings that we have now just from me picking up the pizza, me picking up the groceries and other things, we're able to save that money and use it for vacations and experiences for our kids. And again, that's one of the most important things to me is creating these memories for my family. And I want my kids to be able to tell their kids, man, growing up, we had a great life. That's my goal. Finally, I mentioned earlier about how important it is to regularly review and adjust your financial plan. Life changes, and so should your financial strategy. The way that I think about money and I spend money now is completely different than how I spent money and thought about it 10 or 15 years ago. My goals are completely different. When it was just my wife and I, we didn't have to worry about daycare costs. We didn't have to worry about summer camp registration. We could travel a lot. We could purchase that new tech. We could do the DoorDash and have the groceries delivered to our house and pizza delivered and not think twice about it. But today, with 3 beautiful children, my goals are different. So we had to change how we thought about our money. Setting time aside each month to review your budget and track your progress towards your goals and adjust as needed is something I recommend everybody do. It's going to help you stay on top of your finances and make any necessary changes before small issues become big problems. That happens with credit cards. People will put one purchase on a credit card and say, I will pay this off this month. And then they swipe it again and then again. And then they get the bill at the end of the month and they're questioning, how did their credit card bill get this high? And then they see the interest payment. Well, now they can't afford to pay off the whole entire credit card. So now it snowballs into the next month. And then it snowballs again and again to eventually the minimum payment is strictly just the interest. This is when clients end up trying to reach for that life raft and try to figure out how we got here and how do we get out of this. Mindful spending will help prevent this from happening. And now I know if you're anything like me, every single week I get a credit card offer in the mail that says, apply now, you've been pre-approved, we have this sign-on bonus, we have this intro rate, transfer your balance, do this, do that. They make it so easy to get credit cards nowadays. If you're not careful and you haven't given any thought to your spending, you could find yourself in a really bad situation. I can't stress that enough. That is one of the biggest problems that we have as a society. And that's where our schools have to do a better job of teaching financial literacy. It is our job to educate our children about the importance of debt management, being able to write a check, balance a checkbook, control our spending, and a whole bunch of other things. That is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do. And that's one of the reasons why I do a lot of work with the under 45 crowd. We were never taught financial literacy in school. We graduated high school, went to college, got a job, and then was just basically tossed to the wolves and we had to figure everything out by ourselves. I wish I would have had somebody telling me how to do all of this. My parents did a fantastic job when it comes to budgeting. I'll never forget when I had my first job as a waiter at a small diner in Maryland. Every paycheck I got, my parents were forcing me to put a certain amount of money into a white envelope. And it was labeled for all different categories, such as Christmas, car payment, insurance, video games, And I'm sure there was a couple other ones. I can't remember. Oh, my cell phone. But it was something that my parents, especially my mom, really try to drill in my head that that we don't have an unlimited supply of money. So come Christmas time, whatever was in my envelope, that's how much money I had to spend. There are apps nowadays that really help with that. I know one in particular is called You Need a Budget, is known for as you get paid, every single dollar you have to assign a job to. And it's basically a digital version of that envelope system. It's actually it's a really cool app. I know a lot of times, like if you implement that reverse budgeting that I talked about earlier, this takes care of that problem because all of your expenses, all of your fixed expenses are covered. And then whatever money is left over is discretionary spending. So at the end of the day, who really cares what you're spending that money on? If it improves your life, go do it. That's where I like to say that I'm a little bit different than a lot of financial advisors. Over the years, I've seen advisors tell people that they have to stop spending money on coffee. Don't get Starbucks on your way to work. Cut out DoorDash. Don't go on that trip to Disney. Don't do this. Don't do that. I have a client that absolutely loves Starbucks. They will drink Starbucks probably 5, 6, 7 times a week, but it brings them joy. They like to go sit inside of Starbucks. They end up meeting people that they've never met before, or they end up seeing some friends that they haven't seen in a long time, and it strikes up conversations. It brings them joy. It fills their bucket. I'm all about that. But what they do is they also sacrifice in other aspects, so they enjoy their coffee and they also like eating out, but that coffee at Starbucks every single morning is more important than eating out. So they only eat out once a week. Again, it's about prioritizing what's most important to you. And nobody can tell you what's more important to you than you. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with your friends. I'd love to hear your own strategies for avoiding lifestyle inflation. So be sure to connect with me on social media. I'll have all of my social media in the show notes. Until next time, take care of your financial well-being. Talk to you soon.
The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.